When I started with the company, we had about 19 employees and a little over $6 million in revenue. And last year, we ended with 125 employees and about $112 million in revenue. So I've seen a lot of growth over the last 10 years, and a lot of successes and some not so successes, some learning experiences. I call the presentation Scaling an Authentic Brand While Keeping It Honest, because really, Honest Tea is an authentic brand. And really over the last 16 years, we've been growing the business, building our revenues, adding employees, building our distribution throughout the country, and even some international customers as well. But all doing that, we really retain what our original values were when the company was started by Seth and Barry. So we retain our values and our mission. So that's why I say it's scaling a brand, but we're keeping it honest. We're keeping who we are, especially when you introduce Coke into our mix, because they're taking our brand and they're taking it national wide, and we are still staying true to our vision and to our values. As Seth likes to always say, we were thirsty, and that's pretty much how Seth came up with the idea of starting a beverage company, because he was thirsty one day jogging in Central Park, and his choices were really sweetened beverages with a lot of sugar or no sugar at all. So he said, well, I want a beverage that just has a little bit of sugar. So he saw a position in the market that he felt he needed to go after. So Seth and Barry Nailbuff was Seth's professor at Yale Business School and his MBA school. So both of them started the company here in February 1998. And Barry Nailbuff was the chairman of the company until Coca-Cola purchased us completely in 2011. And they had their first sale to Whole Foods with 5 thermoses and a Snapple bottle. So they really didn't have a product. They had thermoses, beverage that they've made out of Seth's kitchen. And he able to convince a buyer to go ahead and purchase 15,000 bottles. And that's kind of how they got started. Of course, they had to figure out how to make the 15,000 bottles because he made the 5 thermoses in his kitchen. When Seth and Barry started the business, obviously they started with nothing. They didn't have any money. They didn't have any distribution. They didn't really have a product. They had their 5 thermoses. They had really no marketing budget. So, and really you had 2 individuals who didn't really have any beverage experience. And maybe if they did have beverage industry experience, they might not have even started the business. So maybe that was a good thing they didn't really realize what they were stepping into when they started Honest Tea. Of course, when you start a company, you need capital. You gotta have some form of funding to fund all your activities. So what they did first is they raised $500,000 from their family and friends. And this is actually an excerpt from the book, Mission in a Bottle. So I brought a copy here. And I also have some excerpts, so you can take these too, which introduces the book. And they published the book this year in September. They launched it. And it goes through all the steps and all the decisions they had to take to build this company and to where it is today. So they had to expand their base of who they're going to raise money from. So they started to go after employees, angel investors, partners. We had distributors who were really our customers. They have invested in the company as well. So this is a way they were able to bring on additional capital to grow the business. Authenticity as a brand, and that's what we believe ourselves to be, as authentic. If you've tried some of our tea even this evening, we are, it is what it says it is. So when you look at the ingredient statement on one of our bottles, there's not 25, 30 ingredients and you can't pronounce half of them. It's ingredients like purified water and organic tea and natural flavorings and organic cane sugar. It's simple to read, simple to understand, simple ingredients. So most tea companies, when they make their tea, they'll bring in concentrates and they'll bring in powders and they mix it with water. It's kind of like mixing Tang, and put it in the bottle. Well, our tea, we bring in 50-pound bags of tea leaves. So it comes from China. Our green teas come from China, our black teas come from India, and our herbals come from South Africa. If we will bring these teas that are actually brought into the plants on pellets, and the tea is steeped in hot water. We add sugar, we add some natural flavoring, and we bottle it. A lot of our products are made with fair trade tea, and I'll go a little bit over what we mean by fair trade. But fair trade means that we pay a little bit more per pound for tea. So if a tea is $3.50 a pound, we'll pay $3.75 a pound. And that extra 25 cents that we pay for that tea goes back to the plantations, goes back to help the people who are working in those plantations. It helps them with better health care, puts computers in classrooms, education. And so Seth, when he goes to these plantations, he likes to see how our money's being spent. So 16 years ago, when we set out as Honest Tea, we really set out to really do three main objectives. One, to try to help eliminate billions of calories from the American diet by offering naturally lower in calorie beverages. We just don't use a lot of sugar in our drinks. Our fizz is unsweetened, so we don't have any sugar in the fizz drinks. But our teas are naturally low in calorie, where you could have 100, 120, 150 calories per bottle. Ours is more like 60 calories a bottle. It's like half the amount of sugar. We strive to support the growth of organics, and that's certainly, we want to democratize organics, we always say. And with Coke's help, you will see that we've really been able to spread our organic tea beverages, all over the country. And then the third thing is you see there in the plantations and the fair trade fees and farms, we want to make sure we continue to support fair trade labor standards. And through our growth, we purchase more tea. We pay more fair trade premiums. We pay more premiums, more money goes back to the plantations and to help the people in those plantations. And there's Honest Tea kind of in the center. We tell the story without any hype, right? We don't brag. We don't have any health claims. We don't have any paid spokespeople. Seth and Barry has their signatures and all of the labels and all of our bottles. And we have conversational label messages. Read the back of the label. They always talk a little bit about how they came up with the idea of the tea. And we also have like some Chinese proverbs and some things to consider in life behind the labels and behind the caps. And you look behind your glass cap, there's a little saying to kind of remind you of some of the things that you should consider in life. And kind of like giving back to our consumers. And consumers love them. Consumers collect them. We have people who are collecting these bottle caps. So we tell the story without any hype. And we actually have a great connection with our consumers. And so Honest Tea, really, until recently, we didn't do advertising. The most effective way to get to our customer is through sampling. So it's the most cost-effective way. So as you can see, all the variety of pictures of all the people trying our products. We have a program in the summer called the Road Warrior Program. And in this summer program, we hire between 30 and 40 college students. We put them in branded vehicles, and they travel the country. And they sample our product. They sample at sporting events. They sample at concerts. During the Obama Mitt Romney campaign, they sample at a lot of the conventions. And it's a most effective way to get the product in front of the customer and get them to try it. So we have a great connection with our consumer. Each year, 3 years ago, we came up with the idea of the National Honesty Index. And I don't know if some of you have seen some of the PR on this, but what we do, we ran it for 3 years. This is 2013. We actually set up kiosks all over the country, certain cities. And in these kiosks, we have racks of product. And we put them out there in the street corner. And we don't man the booth. And people who can come and take a bottle of tea. And it's all in their honor system. You can pay $1, and of course the dollar goes to charity. Or you don't have to pay $1. And secretly, we are videotaping these people who come to these booths. And we're tracking who takes the product and pays the $1 and who does not. And we actually tabulate it, and we actually have a little competition between the cities. Who is the most honest city? It's a great spin on our name, and it's a great way for us to build a brand. And the media loves it. We get a lot of earned media from this campaign. But as a lot of companies do, in 2007, we were 9 years in business. So in 9 years of business, we decided, all right, what have we done? What have we done well? What have we done right? And what do we need? And where do we want to go? Where do we want to be? It's kind of a reflection point in 2007. And we want to be a $1 billion brand. Well, we're $112 million, so we have a little bit of ways to go. But we always want to be a $1 billion brand. But to be a $1 billion brand, what do we need? What does Honest need? We've been it for 9 years. What else? Where do we need to go? What kind of needs do we need? So we knew we need more working capital. We need purchasing and production advantages. So we needed cheaper bottles, more higher quality, consistent co-packing, more cheaper packaging, more environmentally friendly packaging, cheaper freight, because if we're going to go nationwide, we want to make sure we get the lowest freight costs, and distribution. Distribution. When you go to a Walmart, you go to a Target, you go to one of these retailers, and they'll say, I love your product, I want to buy it, and I want it in all 5,000 outlets around the country. If you don't have that distribution built up to service those 5,000 outlets, you're not going to get the business. You need a nationwide solution when you go to one of these large retailers. So we knew these were our needs. Now, we knew we needed help in distribution. We needed the resources for expansion. We needed cash, power in the marketplace, and we needed some production muscle. But what we weren't willing to do is we weren't ready to sell. We're not going to sell. We were not willing to give up control. We were not willing to stray from our mission. We wanted partners that were open to the Honest Tea culture. We want to make sure that our product actually enhanced the partner's portfolio. So we want to make sure that we're just not another brand that this partner is going to sell. They want an integral part of their portfolio. And we wanted to avoid models like Snapple and Jones Soda and Mad River, which we believe have kind of lost their way in terms of what they initially set out in terms of their value. So we wanted a model like Stonyfield Farm and Danone Yogurt. Now the CEO of Stonyfield Farm, Gary Hirschberg, he was actually on our board. Danone bought 40% of Stonyfield Farm yogurt. They provided support for distribution and supply chain, but they left the entrepreneurial team intact. They left their mission intact. They left their spirit intact. So it was kind of like a separate company, and Danone supported it, but Gary still ran it. And we wanted a model very similar to that. Honest Tea in 2007 was in a unique spot. In 2007, there were 3 mega consumer trends occurring. 1, health and wellness. People are paying more attention to what they're putting in their bodies. They're reading labels. They want to understand what they're eating and drinking. Environmental consciousness. People want to understand, I have a package I purchased. How is that going to impact the environment? What is this company doing in terms of minimizing the packaging that's going into our environment and going into landfills? And 3, social responsibility. They want to make sure they're purchasing from companies that treat their employees fairly and they give back to their communities. So these 3 trends, Honest was in a unique position in terms of meeting all 3 of these and building upon those 3. And because by 2012, we feel it's the new standard for doing business, is in terms of relating to these 3 separate trends. Coke realized that Honest Tea was in a very unique position with these 3 trends. Also, Coke had a very unique beverage in terms of fresh brewed tea. Coke really didn't have a strong tea brand. They had Nestea, which was a joint marketing campaign between Coke and Nestle. But they really didn't have a strong tea brand of their own. So they needed something to add to their portfolio, an integral part of their portfolio. And they appreciated what we stood for, our culture. They were impressed with the management team, and they said, this is a company that we want to invest in. And so Coke, a team within Coke called Venturing and Emerging Brands, it was created by Muhtar Kent. This team, this VEB team, Venturing and Emerging Brand team, they're all Coke employees, but they're all unique because they have entrepreneurial backgrounds. They've started companies on their own. And all they do is go and scour the United States and look for brands that are emerging. So they get in early at the early stages, and then they slowly bring them into the Coke system, and then they expand them and scale them. And then in 2011, they have an option. And in 2008, they had an option to buy the remaining 60% of the company. So in 2011, they exercised that option. And they complete the purchase of Honest Tea. Seth continues to lead the team today. He's still an integral part of the business. Our board becomes an advisory council, so we have a council that actually gives Seth support. That distribution goes nationally. Our PET, the plastic bottle, is in areas of the country it's never been before. North and South Dakota, Arkansas, Mississippi. I mean, even in sweet tea territory, we're there because there's pockets of people who are our market. And then Honest Tea produces now at 4 organically certified Coke plants. So these Coke plants had to become organically certified for a small brand like Honest Tea. You know, 112 million, we're a rounding error, in essence, to Coke. And here they are making all this investment to support us and to support our production. So this was in 2011. So after 2011, we are now 100% owned by Coke. You know, we are, part of our distribution is now on the red truck. We call the red truck, the Coca-Cola red truck. When we started in 2008, we had 15,000 outlets. In 2012, we're over 100,000. We're probably 125,000 outlets today. So just massive distribution and expansion, which, you know, outlets. You got to get it available to consumer in order for them to buy it. And then marketing. So here is another campaign, kind of like our National Honesty Index. We have the Great Recycle campaign, and this is Times Square. So this is a 50-foot bin in Times Square, and we call on people to bring all their recyclable beverages, all their cans, all their bottles, and the whole point is to try to fill up the bin. And people who bring in their cans and their bottles, they earn points. And when you earn points, you get to go to our store, and you get to buy things. You know, you can buy a guitar, say a guitar case, and backpacks and shirts. And that's the way to motivate people to bring their recyclables to the blue bin. And again, it's a great awareness campaign for Honest Tea. And then over here, we have a little, it's a children's play area, and the tables and chairs are all made out of the recycled bottles and cans, so they can see how their bottles and cans are being recycled and how it's being reused. So this is the Great Recycle. We do this now in probably 20 or 30 different cities because we really expanded it. Each year we publish a mission report. It kind of keeps us to our mission. This is our 2012 mission report. I have provided copies of our 2013 mission report. So in this mission report, we actually communicate to our stakeholders of all the things we've done to promote our mission. So how many additional fair trade premiums we've purchased, how many pounds of organic tea we've purchased, the donations and charity or events that we've contributed to, all the things that we've done with the year, we put in a report. And it kind of keeps us to our mission because we have to report on it and how well we do as a company. Here's our innovation tree. So these are like all of our products. And then on the left-hand side are all of our teas, and on the right-hand side is all of our juice line. And then down here in the roots, we have some of our, what we call our fertilizers. You know, learning experiences that build stronger roots, right? Kombucha, Coca Nova. We launched an Honest Mate line. It didn't go over very well. And then tea bags. So that's our Honest innovation tree. So why do things go better with Coke? Well, through VEB. And I have to say, through VEB is one of the reasons why this merger has been successful so far. Coca-Cola had the infrastructure and the mindset that Honest Tea needed. We had 3 years of operating together. They bought 40% of us in 2008. We had 3 years to really get to know each other before they bought the rest of us. And that was really important in terms of understanding each capabilities. Both parties were true to the word. So Coca-Cola said, well, just because you buy Honest Tea doesn't mean the next year you're going to be a $250 million company. No, you got to go to each one of our bottlers, okay? And you need to convince them and sell them on bringing on your product. So it's not an easy task. Just because Coke carry Honest Tea and they just goes through the system. No. You have to go through each one of their bottlers and you have to convince them and sell them on your brand and on your product and why they want to carry it. And we were transparent regarding our financial management practices. Our management practices is that we turn on a dime. We create, we're innovative, we're entrepreneurial, We set high standards. We expect performance in a very short period of time. So we expect that of Coke too. And Coke is big. And they don't turn as quickly as we do. So it's a learning experience really between the two cultures. And I've kind of end here with 5 rules for the road. And they're on our glass bottle caps. One of the rules for the road, if you're starting your business, make sure you build something you believe in, right? That's the first step to building a great brand. You've got to believe in it. Build up reserves for money and energy for bad luck and mistakes. You know, we've had our share. You go off on your own, you build a business, you're going to make mistakes. Learn from those mistakes and try not to repeat them in the future. Never, ever give up control of your company until you're ready to sell it. Think of how to achieve your goals on the smallest budget possible, then cut it in half. Okay? Honest Tea, in many years of its growth, had very little funds. I mean, I remember going to a dumpster and getting furniture for our office. We really were tight on our funds. We share rooms when we travel. And even we do that today. We probably don't need to do it today because we have Coke money, but we still do it because we want to keep people tuned into the value of a dollar, right? And build the enterprise and the brand as if you own it forever. In other words, don't make short-term decisions. Always stick to what you believe in. Always stick to your values. And build it and continue to manage it as you will never sell it. You'll have it forever. And then you don't make those short-term decisions. And lastly, don't pay too much attention to the rules. Just don't break any laws. Okay? In other words, don't let rules be a barrier when you build your company or go into business for yourself. And those who say it cannot be done should not interrupt the people doing it. And it's one of my favorite proverbs. And then the last one is one of our favorite tea drinkers, Barack Obama. He's actually drinking a bottle of Green Dragon, so he's a big honest tea drinker.